Kia ora and welcome everyone to today's webinar. I will open up with a karakia for our session. Mauri ora kia mātou, arahina mātou ia mātou mahi. Ki mihia he huarahi mō te kaupapa o te mātauranga hangarau. Āwhina atu, āwhina mai. Te pau e here nei ia mātou. Hui e, tae ki e. Today's webinar explores the human ability to build trust, navigate challenges, a timely conversation for educators and leaders navigating uncertainty and complexity in our current educational landscape. We're joined by Milla Inkilä, who supports learners in the Master of Contemporary Education at AcademyEx, drawing on her work in inclusive education, co-design and systems thinking. Milla helps educators lead meaningful change while staying grounded in relationships, reflection, and real-world impact. Her work focuses on culturally sustaining and gender-inclusive practice, bringing both research insight and lived experience to how we approach change in complex environments. Welcome, Milla. Thanks for joining us today.
Kia ora. Kia ora. I'll share my slides. Here we go. I'm checking the names. There's few names that I haven't perhaps met. So, ko Milla Inkilä taku ingoa no fiinarana ahau. Kei AcademyEx taku mahi. Kei kirikiriroa ahau enoho ana. So from Hamilton, greetings for you today. The accent comes from Finland. Hopefully not too thick today. We'll see. I've been living in Aotearoa for 12 years almost to the day. And I've been working for AcademyEx, or the Mind Lab as we used to be called when I moved here. That was the reason that I moved to Aotearoa a year or two to test it out and then perhaps go back to Finland. But no, here I am. And yeah, loving this. If you joined the webinar 2 weeks ago, you know that I used Slido. I'll do the same today. I'll do a couple of quick Slidos with you just to keep you engaged and to check that we are talking about similar things and what your view is on relational intelligence, which is our focus on today. And I'll pose this question to start with. Those of you who are here. What do your students need from you to learn and thrive in 2026 and beyond? What do you see right now that your students are perhaps needing more than ever right now? What are the things that come to mind? I might put some music on. Let's see. You go to slido.com, put that code in, or use the QR code, and we'll get a couple of answers at least there. Hopefully you're not driving at the same time and you can do that. But yeah, before I start to talk about this, let's see where the needs are. And it could be anything. As you see, it's quite an open question. So yep, oh, brilliant. First one's there. You can pop many, submit many times also. Said, could be, oh yes. Oh yeah. I feel relieved what I've planned for today. I think we're going to talk about important things. Reassurance, because I had to vote for the same one because that's definitely, I realize that with teachers. Teachers need reassurance right now to make sure that you can do this, yeah, we can do this, kind of hope, trust, to be seen, flexibility, support, safe spaces, but also, yeah, know the subject, not forgetting the subject matter. High expectations with trust. Yeah, trust is there many times. Beautiful. I don't know, was it because Pip kind of talked about the blurb of the session that you had those words in mind, but I'm pretty sure that these are honest answers. When I look at our students who are like you, who are practicing teachers, who come to us for postgrad studies, either to do masters or the postgrad DCL, what they are after and what they leave with, which thankfully we seem to be giving them, is more confidence and more connection, like kind of like really, really wanting those things. And those are the ones that we talk with our team a lot, like how do we make sure that we make that happen? Um, the I think I even noticed these in myself. I'll talk about perhaps today also how I did my second master's, and I did that our MCore masters, and I needed those. I knew that I need to be research active as a staff member at AcademyEx, but I realized that I need even more connection. I need more confidence when I'm embarking to something new, and which relates to gender inclusion in my research. But that's the beauty that institutions can actually provide. And yeah, perhaps it's the same thing regardless how old our students are. Um, and if we think about then leadership, I'm not sure if you've seen these statistics. The this is what we really need from our leaders, and perhaps something that, yes, also our students need from us. So trust. Some of you actually answered that there even a couple of times. Um, this is from DDI, Development Dimensions International, who published the Global Leadership Forecast 2025. And there was a huge drop. So employee trust in their immediate managers fell from 46% to 29 in just in 2 years. One of the biggest drops there's ever been in that one. And yes, I think globally, I think Aotearoa and Australia was 3% of those ones answering. But yeah, a similar drop in so many places. So yeah, leadership trust crisis is what many people have been talking about now. Um, and that kind of, I think that shows that perhaps there's even more need for relational intelligence that we are talking about today, which is not just about being nice and it's not just about trust, but creating, yeah, trustful but also kind relationship where people feel safe, like you mentioned, heard, seen, respected, um, and also willing to collaborate. And that trust doesn't just happen by accident. We kind of need to build our interactions, and we need the real human interactions to actually build that trust. And a couple of other data that I thought you might find interesting, or maybe this is not a surprise, but it's quite nice to see this in a big research. Same DDI report said that employees with managers who actively support their development are 11 times more likely to trust their managers. Employees who receive feedback from their manager are 9 times more likely to trust their manager. And employees with managers who are effective coaches are 9 times more likely to trust their manager. And even today, I'm talking about leadership, being leaders of kind of adults, but then at the same time, you could think about this in your classrooms. Many times when we think about what sort of leaders do we want, what do we want from our leaders, it's quite similar things that our students, regardless their age, actually want from us because we are their managers and leaders. And one more from the same source, DDI, that 2025 leadership forecast. This is what they suggest as solutions. Um, so, um, as yeah, so kind of that strategic rebuilding trust or building trust. So the key things that we should key behaviors that we should be practicing is that we need to remember to listen and respond with genuine empathy. Leaders who show that we're truly listening, that we respond, build deeper, more authentic connections with, even if it's within our own team, even if we're not in a leadership position, even if you're a teacher in the classroom, that really matters. Encouraging others to speak up without fear or reprisal, so the negative consequences of speaking up, not being afraid of those. So that psychological safety that you mentioned. Safe to share ideas, safe to share concerns, feedback. All of that is critical for building trust. Third one, sharing thoughts and rationale for decisions. Um, we just I had a session a couple of weeks ago about the uncertainty for the future occupations for our students, and one of our master students just did masters on the change project on that, and she realized that it's actually the decisions making, having the courage to make decisions, to think about that see that yes, there are decisions, but then also making those decisions, how important that is for our future careers. Um, but yeah, being able to look at what's the rationale behind decisions, so that we kind of realize what do we value, and if we share those, then yeah, it builds the trust as well. And encouraging others to challenge old ways of doing things. This is what we talked about 2 weeks ago. If you came to that session, letting go of old ways of doing things, challenging existing paradigms. If we foster innovation, that's what we need to do. Continuous improvement, that drives trust and creativity. And these are the things we'll talk about today. But I'm not sure if you are new to this, because I've been quite new to this. There's this idea of a new intelligence, like yes, there's emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence. Those are the ones that we've talked about, for example, in our programs for a really long time. But now the idea of relational intelligence, adding that into the mixture. And I'm gonna quote today Isabel C. Howe today, for example. She's a French-born educator, author, and she works for the Stanford Accelerator for Learning place at the Stanford Uni. She has really interesting videos online if you want to go and have a look at and listen what she talks. She kind of talks about especially relational intelligence in the age of AI. She has quite a thick French accent, even thicker than perhaps my Finnish accent, but really, really interesting things because she looks at kind of, in some ways, integrates this brain science, technology, definitely, social innovation, and equity, also kind of opportunities for any age. And she's been looking at early education a lot, but she definitely talks relational intelligence in education through adulthood. And whenever she talks about that, she brings it to AI. She says that we kind of, even more in the age of AI, we need to look at relational intelligence because it's even more essential for us humans to flourish, that we need that even more now. And one of the interesting things is that she's done this, and I made a tiny URL so that you can have a look at the table, which is a table of co-evolution of human and social intelligence. She's tried to map the different intelligences that we've been kind of gathering as a humankind. Biological intelligence, social intelligence, symbolic, linguistic intelligence, and then the cultural intelligence, civilization, analytical, artificial, hybrid intelligence, and then the last one there is that relational intelligence, that emerging one. So wide and interesting thing. We'll focus on that last one today. And yeah, it's what she's done here is that she's synthesized from um, anthropology, cognitive science, and definitely educational science a lot. Anything kind of relating to human intelligence. She's tried to map that and then kind of like put that on a timeline. But she's saying that in an AI mediated world, like she's saying that the next thing that we definitely need to focus on is the relational intelligence so that we can build trust, so that we can collaborate. We need relational intelligence for that, and so that we can create meaning together, what actually matters to us. I love that she's not saying that AI can do amazing things, and we can, yeah, like you pipped, we started to talk about that before the webinar started, that it's quite amazing and how much we use it. But at the same time, do we then leave time for those things that are out of that, or do we just do more things the same way? Um, so yeah, hopefully this is interesting today. Let's see if you find it as interesting as I do. But yes, her work is behind many of the things that I'll talk today about. Um, this is what she lists also. So especially when she talks about relational intelligence in education. And perhaps these are the things that you might agree as well. What do your students need? Building trust, regardless how old they are, perhaps that's something that matters even more in the age of AI. Um, Reading, responding to others, navigating tension, repairing relationships, and creating meaning together. Perhaps it's a global political thing that we can kind of see that that there's definitely need for that even more. Um, of course, this is in Aotearoa, New Zealand, what we talk about when it comes to that whakawhanaungatanga, the important part of being a good human, building meaningful relationships, building connections, which we know is so crucial in education. And I think that's kind of our Aotearoa view on this. Um, Same thing that whakawhanaungatanga is even more important in the age of AI. We realized that we even in our programs, I realized that's something that we come back to more often and often. We say that, whakawhanaungatanga, and how do we make more room for that? How do we make sure that we start with that and all that? Relationships is not a soft skill, building those that's foundational for and foundational for effective leadership. Bringing change, sustaining change. And if change is what learning is about, then yeah, essential part of learning as well. Um, you'll hear me talking today because I'm doing this as a webinar, so I can't hear your voices. So I made a video where it's not my voice telling the story that I wanted to share with you, which is which is one actually from Isabel Howe. Um, and I came up with this article from her actually thanks to George Siemens. If you studied with us, if you've done even DCL, the Digital and Collaborative Learning certificate, even if you did that 11, 12 years ago, when I was new to Aotearoa, New Zealand, I think even like really, really early age, like we've always talked about George Siemens, which is since his idea of the new pedagogy and learning theory for the digital age is one that we've looked at for a really, really long time. Most of the things have changed, but Siemens has stuck there. And I think it was Siemens on LinkedIn that kind of helped to make the connection. And I realized and found kind of her work originally, housework. And this is a story that comes from her. I didn't mention yet that the book that she's written is Love to Learn, A Transformative Power of Care and Connection in Early Education. That's where she has kind of started, even if it's the world of AI that she kind of thrives in right now. So she uses this story to explain relational intelligence, and maybe it helps us to kind of frame the idea as well. So I've used the AI voice that I use nowadays with my students. So here we go.
Every morning at 74th Street Elementary School in South Los Angeles, a small figure walks briskly through the front gate. Her name is Linda Ricks. She's a retired office manager and lifelong community advocate. She carries no special credentials, tablet, or teaching manual. What she brings instead is presence. Ms. Ricks is one of the volunteers in Gen X, Generation X Change, a program that pairs older adults with elementary school classrooms in neighborhoods where both children and elders often feel unseen. Her role is simple: to listen, to guide, to remind students that they matter. In one of those classrooms sits Celeste Medal, a fourth grader with bright eyes and quiet determination. "I feel like I know somebody is counting on me," she says, "and I know that somebody knows I can do it." The somebody is Ms. Ricks. Together they represent what might be the most underappreciated innovation of our time, the power of human relationships to ignite human potential. Over the past decade, Gen X classrooms have seen increased reading scores and improved behavioral outcomes in students. Gen X also reports in its volunteers increased positive well-being, a sense of purpose, improved physical health, and even weight loss linked to greater physical activity. As artificial intelligence grabs headlines and investment dollars, Ms. Ricks and Celeste are practicing an intelligence that cannot be automated. It's the intelligence of attunement, of care, of knowing, and knowing how to know each other. We might call it relational intelligence, the deeply human ability to build trust, navigate tension, repair ruptures, and create meaning with others. And it may be quietly rising as the defining skill of our age, the essence of what it means to remain fully human in a world increasingly governed by algorithms and automation.
Hmm. Um, I love that story, even if, well, if you know me, you know that I love algorithms as well, and automation and AI. Uh, yes, those can help us to, and even kind of AI, I can use that to navigate tension. Yes. But I noticed that even with adults, that it is the same thing. It is the presence that actually helps. That's what I need for learning. Someone knowing me, someone caring, someone listening, saying that what I do matters. So, yeah, the younger our students, it's kind of easy to see that. But then if we look into the mirror, we might need the same exact thing. Um, so could be that there's stories like that in Aotearoa as well, but I use that because it comes from her book, and she's kind of the one of the global leaders in this currently. Um, what she interestingly says is that it's not just cognition, which we easily think about human history, and kind of she's quoting a lot of research for that, but it's actually the connection that matters. The We have survived, I guess, as a humankind, but also as human beings from early on, that we've cooperated, we collaborated. We learn when someone shows us things. We've developed languages, cultures, shared ideas, made meaning together through generations. And so it's not just that we've had bigger brains, but we need that trust, we need those relationships, and we need that collective wisdom. Even if AI can help with a lot, that's what, yeah, unfortunately not yet, can't help. Um, so I think that's why it's important in education. I would agree with her. Um, the AI can definitely, and I'm talking about generative AI here, of course, like what we most of us currently use a lot. Um, Many people say that we still need humans. We need that kind of unique human value. So, what is that unique human value? Maybe it is that ability then to connect with real people, to see if it actually is true, to test and trial it with real people, to have encourage to do that thing. So then we need to help and encourage each other to challenge, which of course AI is quite good as a puppy to say that, well done, that's a really good idea, and then also being able to be criticizing, but we need to ask currently it to do that a bit more, but to truly make something meaningful, we need to test it with humans so that we can truly collaborate. And to create those environments where people do feel safe. Um, and yeah, perhaps we need even more because we have that less and less. We need to make sure that it happens more. Um, as technology is going to advance even more, then those relationships become even more important, even for us tech teachers. Um, and one of the things is also that our brains are wired for belonging. Of course, our brains change with everything. Anything we do changes our brains too, but for a long time, and comes from Matthew Lieberman. You might have heard his research when he talks about that we are fundamentally wired for connection. We want to belong. That's even more important than our basic, like other basic needs like food and water. And of course, if we think about like little kids, we know that those ones who don't get that, who lack relationships, then that, yeah, there's not as much growth, not as much even brain growth. It kind of cripples the child's development, unfortunately. And yes, I've mentioned this a few times that learning tends to be fundamentally relational. This is what almost all of our students who are teachers who realize when they come to us that that's the part of learning that they really love. It's not always easy because it means that kind of confronting things, doing things together. But that seems to be the clue for learning. Maybe it's the relational intelligence that actually makes learning possible. It takes a while to support our students to get there. It doesn't always happen just like that. I wanted to mention a few which are kind of have recently really struck a core in me of our students' mahi that they've done. And I could have chosen any, like AcademyEx in our Heroro. That's the newest one, newest our proceedings from our symposium. That's the January symposium. And these ones that I'm talking here are the ones that I happen to see in January, and students that I know and talk with. And I could have chosen any because almost all of our students talk about how important relationships and connections are to true learning, regardless what they do. I mentioned this, for example, Amber's thing. So Amber is a secondary school visual arts education teacher, and she kind of looked at relational practice, designing indigenous informed framework that prioritizes more belonging, shared meaning making, and culturally identity over compliance, standardization. She kind of designed a fully new one, amazing outcome, and she didn't look at just artistic outcomes, but looked at relational intelligence, kind of, even if she didn't use those exact words yet, but yes, trust, student agency, collective flourishing, and genuine learning. And then I have the Joanne and Christine, who are they actually in the picture. I think even just the way that they did their research by working together, by helping each other, supporting each other, and they even that's their presentation. They even had the outfits, and they ended up presenting together, having it as a discussion. They co-designed culturally responsive blended and flipped learning approaches that use digital tools to strengthen the student engagement, belonging, and achievement for Maori and Pacifica learners. And they talked about technology a lot, but they said that everything has to be grounded in relational intelligence, in trust, in whakawhanaungatanga, talanoa, reciprocity, care. And they really, truly showed that. Just amazing, amazing mahi. Last one, and if you want to have a look at the summaries, you can find all of those from Heroro. I chose Pauline's one, AI in Aotearoa classroom supporting senior students' literacy through flipped and blended learning. So she kind of noticed that even in AI enhanced learning, students consistently identified and said that the teachers are the key driver of motivation and engagement. Quite an interesting outcome, isn't it? And yeah, it could be any. It's regardless if projects are about AI in teacher well-being, or if it is something more cultural like Mātauranga Māori in STEAM, or something to do with ESOL students, regardless who it is and what it is about, because they are all about learning. Relationality comes up. I just before, and I didn't make a slide of that because I realized that actually I could have added my own research there. I think that was, even for me, I was surprised that when I did my MCore research and like people were saying like it was about gender inclusion, and I assumed that it would be our age, kind of assumed that younger teachers perhaps know a bit more about gender inclusion and variety in us human beings. Maybe they know what intersex means or so on. And I also kind of assumed that primary school educators don't know as much as secondary because there's usually kids are kind of they have to at that point already kind of open up because it starts to be really hard to be themselves when they realize that their body starts to change and it doesn't align what they are and what they've ever been, or especially if it's tertiary educators. And according to my survey, none of that mattered. And I did the maths a lot. Like I kind of like, really, there's no connection. No. The only thing that mattered is that if you actually knew someone, if you knew a trans child, a trans adult, if you knew a real human being and you knew them as a human being, then you were more open to learn, realizing what you don't know and wanting to learn more. That was really, really, really interesting. And many of them kind of even said that it's like, yeah, that was the part that opened their eyes, which is, of course, the we all have students. Yes, it's a small minority. For example, our Takatapui or trans or gender diverse or so on, kind of our students. But yeah, they have always existed. But then do we see there's many who said that I've never had, and we're like, well, if you have, yeah, percentage you have had, but you just haven't perhaps been safe enough for them to say who they are. Or yeah, even realize that yes, you definitely have. If you've worked as a teacher, like statistically, yes, you've had students like that. But those who have then created that safety and those relationships, then that's the key even for teachers for learning. But gosh, my assumptions. Oh, it's amazing our human assumptions. We're really, really good at that. Good at those. Um, of course, my research was also a lot of breaking my own assumptions. That's what we talked about 2 weeks ago about that systems intelligence and how to change things, and changing our own assumptions and ways of working is key to change. But I listed a couple of things. What are the things that we can do? So thinking about relational intelligence, thinking about it in 2026, trying to look at that global research, kind of what are the takeaways? And could be that you have some good ideas too. So pop those, for example, to the Q&A. Could be that you come up with even better ideas than what I've had based on what I've read so far and what I've chatted with people so far. Many say that at the same time as we are more connected, we are less relational. There's loneliness is rising globally. There's less face-to-face. There's few meaningful peer relationships, regardless how old we are. We've heard and experienced this as educators after COVID, for sure. So what we perhaps need to keep in mind more than ever is that we are not just delivering content, but we should actually design relational environments. Collaboration is not easy, but it's so rewarding. And it's, yeah, the same regardless how old we are. I love looking at that with teachers. It takes a while. And it takes a lot of whakawhananga to build that trust with someone. But then when you have real human being that you are learning with, even if AI helps in that too, then there's kind of true change and mindset change happening. The Many of our students also talk about, and what research seems to say, that there's fewer kind of conversations. There's yes, there's more kind of interactions, but those are mediated through technology, messaging, social media, or AI. That could be that you are even realize that, gosh, I'm having a lot of discussions, but I'm having that with AI. So we should make sure that we set time so that we have those with other human beings. Um, and when we do that with human beings, we kind of have to acknowledge and be okay that we need to sit with the discomfort more. We need to work through misunderstandings. We need to even repair relationships. We need to even learn to say, sorry, I was wrong, all of that. It's really interesting how recently teachers have even started to talk, for example, in nonviolent communication. That's a long history in that, but there's more and more people looking at things like that. Um, so what I wrote there is that perhaps we should design for interaction, not isolation. So whenever we are designing the learning, making sure that we design for interaction. And yes, technology can help in that too, but then we, for example, in Zoom, that we use more breakout rooms. I say that while running a webinar and not seeing your faces and how you react, but yeah, definitely feel like I need that. Um, um, and third thing that I summarized, um, it's that safety. And thanks for popping that in at the beginning, that it really, really is important. And it's so important. We talk about innovation. We talk about deep learning. And the what is crucial for those is that we need to be able to take risks. We need to be able to be creative, innovative, think critically, try new things. And all of that requires that we are safe enough and perhaps brave enough. There's also interesting ideas that it's not just a safe place, but brave place goes even a bit further than the idea of just safer places. And that's the other thing. Adding the R in that means that we can't say that this is 100% safe. I can't say that to you. I don't know you. And like, is this a safe place just because I say that this is a safe place to put anything to the Q&A? No, but I can try my best to make it safer, that there's things that I can try to make it safer. I don't know uh, yeah, what you are like and what you require for safety, but trying to make it safer. And also kind of then, yeah, normalize mistakes, model repair, as I wrote there, that maybe that's what we need to do do better. Apologize if we get it wrong. Trying to be better. And we know that as teachers, if we make mistakes and if students realize that, gosh, they love it. Like sometimes I think with young students, I like made mistakes on purpose, and that was the best thing for them to realize that where I made even just spelling mistakes. Um, but the same as what we do as parents, nowadays quite often we're kind of told that we should show what it looks like to repair relationships, to do kind of have respectful disagreements with each other, how to disagree respectfully, and then yes, say sorry and do that so that the kids hear that. Um, I hope that we would do that even more as colleagues. That if we can show to our students how colleagues are collaborating, how they are handling disagreements, how they are saying sorry to each other, like what better thing? Um, so yes, it's important to teach them to code and computational thinking and all that, but also to navigate risk, to navigate making mistakes, which is beautifully, it actually is sometimes easier in a code, I think, but to repair things also face to face with human beings. I think for me personally, actually, when I stepped from being a primary school teacher and I went and worked in a big IT company, I was quite amazed of how empathetic the software designers were, those coders that you kind of have a certain view, like, no social skills. And actually, um, yes, social skills, but in a different way. And the huge need to want to help other people and being able to solve really complex things uh, for the goodness of making life easier for other humans. And even actually working and collaborating together, I was quite amazed when I realized that, gosh, they were better than I was at that. And I'm like, I kind of always thought that, primary school teachers are really good. But if we don't collaborate, maybe we think we are, but I'm like, not sure. Or is it just me? Not sure. Um, but yes, I've said I made a mistake. So was that normalizing mistakes and model repair? But yeah, I came back to education after working in IT, and I've definitely seen that in education too. For a couple of last things, and then after this, I'm now asking you to put one more Slido in. What I'm asking you after this in Slido is what could be a small shift? What could be some small thing that you could do even this week, maybe tomorrow or next week, in your classroom, in your workplace, something that would build trust and build connection. And just to give you kind of last few tips, connection moments could be that you start a lesson with quick check-in. Could be that you do talanoa. Could be that you use peer and share more often and intentionally. Make thinking social. Asking to explain your thinking to someone else. And yeah, without AI. Um, and not submitting individual work, but submitting together. Slowing down for relationships. This is a huge struggle, even for me every week. That is fewer tasks and deeper interactions would be better. So dialogue over coverage of content, or at least making sure that if there's coverage, then there's other time when it's time for the connection and dialogue. And designing for co-creation, so using group problem solving. I know many of you are brilliant in, for example, design thinking and so on. And then shared outputs. Um, that just pushes even us educators to actually, when it's our learning things, I think that teaches us the most. And yeah, in many ways about ourselves and about the topic as well. Um, and something relational intelligence writers talk about a lot right now is protecting our device-free moments, regardless our age. Yes, I'm definitely not anti-tech, but perhaps pro-connection. We need time to be fully present with others, and I need to connect with you right now. So here is my question. What could it be? What could be something that you could do? Small shift, something that you could trial. Um, I'll put some music on for that too. I put my own one there. Mine is the asking what conversation should we be having that we're not having yet. Maybe that's something that you can also put to Q&A if there's something that we are not having and we should be having. Maybe that's some of the next webinars. The ideas could come from you. Thank you for those. Brilliant. They are now recorded and here says we'll share the recording afterwards. Brilliant. And maybe, yeah, hopefully those will happen maybe even tomorrow or at least next week. um, yeah, I have to say I'm not sure if I like webinars talking to by myself that much, but I do love what we offer our program. So if you come there, I'd love that so that I actually have discussions with you. So I might hand over to Lisa to talk a bit about our scholarship. Is there something, Pip, you wanted to say before that?
No, I'm not sure. Is Lisa
Is
here?
Lisa? Did Lisa actually make it? If
No,
she
she hasn't made it.
she's still in the car. In that case, I'll talk about that then. I know the two things, and could be that some of you have done these already, but digital and collaborative learning postgrad last couple of years a lot around AI. but around leading change. You choose what you make it around. And this is the amazing thing that there's now a new scholarship, this is particularly for August intake. So apply quickly. So instead of 3,625, you only pay 500 if you are a registered teacher. That's what you need to be, because we see that there's the need. And yeah, we want you to learn together and make meaningful change in your practice. That could be that you've done that years ago already, and then what you could do is that you can continue to masters with us. So that's the masters that we developed, thanks to all of those students who said that they would like to continue studying with us. And Master of Contemporary Education, if you've done the part one, so the DCL, then you could just jump into the Waka straight to part two. And next part two starts in July. And we just exceeded, and this is something that Lisa could say on 20. I think there's about a week still to apply since we extended the scholarship. So there's the 50% scholarships available, limited number, but Tangata Whenua, Pacificaco, Taipakeke, and Impact. Impact applies to any of you as an educator because you are making a positive impact and change. So you can apply to that. You just need to justify how your learning will have an impact in your community. But yes, those are closing quite soon for July. Of course, you can take your time and then jump in next January as well. All of the applications online, everything happening there. First apply to the program, then apply to the scholarship. The educator scholarship, you'll hear from us within a week. So that's a quick one now. So yeah, first apply, and those ones who enroll kind of get those scholarships. And if you need any details more, then Lisa, could be that the reason Lisa is not here is that she's actually talking with someone, like she's on the phone all the time. So most likely someone has actually called her and she can't say no. So yes, call her, email her. So she's there to make sure that you get the scholarships and know how to apply and all that to learn more about the programs.
Can you see the question and answers there, Milla? There's a
Let's
question
see.
there about scholarship. Do you entertain overseas teacher with New Zealand practicing certificate, but no teaching experience in New Zealand yet?
Oh, I would ask to contact Lisa. I think we usually say that you would need to have practice here. I say that at the same time, we actually have, this is the second year that we are offering our international Master of Contemporary Education. So we have now our second intake who have actually moved to New Zealand to do our masters. So that's possible, but then that's New Zealand certificate. One of the reasons that I can't say straight away that yes, we do is that what makes both the masters and the certificate a bit different is that we want you to have a practice. The reason being that that's how you learn. We don't want you to learn in theory, but we want you to kind of push those things into practice, realize how much harder it is to actually do that than just to talk about that in paper or in a video. And then to learn from that, to learn from those mistakes, learn from exactly the things that we talked about, learn by talking with others. And talking with others many times is that sharing those experiences. What have you done? What has worked in your school? And ideating together. But you can do part three full time if you take a study break, for example, from your MAHI. Could be that you do that full time, but most of our students are practicing teachers, full-time teachers, and they study on top of that. So that's how we also justify to NZQA that a lot of that learning happens while you are actually doing your work. But yeah, you could, contact Lisa, or if it's not you, if it's for someone else, ask them to contact Lisa and chat if it's an opportunity.
Thanks, Milla. I was just thinking in the background, because you're presenting the whole time and we're all just listening away or putting questions in the chat, that the platform we provided did not fit the brief at all. And I know we've got Henry from Engineering New Zealand who hosts these Zooms, and I think we need to have a chat to Henry about perhaps some options to engage our audience a little bit more. Because I was sitting there going, "Oh, this is a little bit ironic that we're talking about relational learning, and you are not able to build those relationships with all our attendees
No.
that are in the background listening at the moment. And I'm sure some of them would have really liked to. It's really good to be able to build off people's expressions, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that I do, any onlines, I'm constantly scanning people's faces, and you can gauge a lot from that, and that's really important. So, Henry, I know you're listening. We're going to have to chat about this.
I had
But
to actually replan the whole thing because I'm like, my first is like, oh, I'm going to do this and breakout rooms, this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, I can't. All right. How do, yeah. Yeah. But an
yeah, so
interesting challenge. Yes. Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
learning for us too. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because if this is what, really good learning is about, then we're perhaps not meeting that brief with webinars. Oh, good
Yeah.
work.
And I think that's the nice thing that TENS can also do. And that's why people come to your conferences and so on, so they actually get to talk with
Yeah,
other people.
yeah,
So
100%.
that's kind of
Yeah.
it, whatever it is. And even if it's like a couple of people who, even if you haven't talked with them before, then yeah. Oh,
Mm.
even small breakout room can be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That.
this is
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that recorded webinar aspect is a little bit tricky, but I'm sure we can make something
Mm,
work. And we get a lot of traffic in our YouTube channel afterwards. A lot of people
yeah.
go in and watch our webinars when they've got the time, because obviously sometimes you just don't have the
Indeed.
time between 4 and 5 on a Wednesday. So yeah, we'll find the happy medium. But thank you so much. Can I just share a karakia to finish us off
Yeah.
today?
Of course.
Thank you so much for the session today. I really enjoyed it. Um, Beautiful. Alrighty. Kia mātou katoa, kua mutu mātou i a mātou mahi, i a mātou kaupapa hoki, arahina mātou, kia kawe mātou i a mātou heipapa, kia whakatapua mātou ki ngā kaupapa me ngā mea e whakapono. Manakitia mai mātou. Kia ora everyone, thank you so much.
Ka kite anō.
Ka kite.